And last but not least, I think Prince of Persia Rival Swords. Based on the back of the box, it's pretty cool looking. I've never seen this cover before. It stuck out to me, I don't know. So when a game sticks out to me, when I'm browsing a collection, I usually pick it up. So, funny story. When I picked up Rival Swords, I really was excited to review Rival Swords. When I picked it up, I Googled the Rival Swords game and I saw that it was a good game. And, you know, I was looking forward to playing it. So whatever, I bring it home, I pop it in the PSP and I started playing it. And I didn't look at the title screen. I don't know what happened. The game is not Rival Swords. It's Prince of Persia Revelations. So that explains that. Yes, it drove me nuts. I was actually waiting to play as Dark Prince in the game. I was like, when is Dark Prince coming up? When is Dark Prince popping up in this game? Nothing. So that's when I realized this is Revelations that I've been playing this whole time. So that's the story there for the viewers that watched that vlog and were wondering if I was ever going to review Rival Swords. I would love to, but I don't have it. I'm going to give a brief history of the game, so if you want to skip right to the review, I'll put a timestamp on the screen for you. Prince of Persia Revelations released on the PlayStation Portable in 2005. Revelations is a peculiar entry as it's not a brand new entry in the Prince of Persia series like you would normally find other franchises do on the PSP, however watered down they might be. Instead, what we have is a port of the second game in the series, aka Prince of Persia Warrior Within. The PSP game actually includes 4 new areas not found in the PS2 version. So that's pretty impressive. You would think a port of a PS2 game brought down to the PSP would actually contain less. So what could go wrong? Yeah, about that. First and foremost, I've never played the PS2 Warrior Within version of this game, which I hear is considered a masterpiece by some fans, so hey, more power to them. What I do know is that I thought my PSP was on the fritz a few minutes into playing Revelations. The audio and graphics was absolutely jarring at first. By that, I mean during cutscenes and gameplay, the audio straight up cuts in and out with no fading of the background music between scenes or music loops. A simple playtest would have brought that issue to light. This just confirms for me that the port was not given the same love as the console version. The audio issues don't end there. The sound effects suffer from the same fate as the music. Sometimes grunts or the clanging of weapons doesn't even load, leaving you in a vat of silence. Granted, Prince of Persia Revelations shines bright when the audio is working properly, which is few and far between though. The music in the game is that classic grungy Persian-inspired rock music that feeds my inner 14-year-old wannabe badass.
Pain is exquisite.
Very typical for the series at the time. It's just a shame that they couldn't figure out the audio bugs. It really took me out of the experience at times. Oh, and I didn't forget about the graphics that threw me for a loop at first. Muddy and dark is how I would best describe the graphics in this game. I know it's just a PSP game and you can't expect the textures to be console quality, but I've seen way better textures in similar action games on the handheld, God of War being a prime example. For a game that takes place mostly indoors in a basic environment where they can reuse a lot of assets, I expected a bit more environmental detail. That's not to say the game looks horrible though. Hallways are quite big, which lead into large multi-floored rooms where the platforming takes place, providing a nice sense of scale. I especially love moments where the camera pans around the prince, like running up these stairs for example. Very cinematic. The character models took a big hit when they were scaled down for the PSP, but it's nothing offensive. I'm not expecting Crisis Core levels of character models, but I think they could have done better. The prince's textures are very muddy, but he's fully equipped with his little sash, gauntlets, and bands all over his body. In motion, you won't really notice his low-res model, which is true for the whole game. The game looks really good while running around platforming. Sure, there's frame drops occasionally, but that's to be expected. I feel like I do have to mention how dark the game looks at times. At first, the platforming is really difficult because you can't make out what's what. I'm happy to report that you do get used to it though. The platforming is just as good as any Prince of Persia game found on the PS2. The controls are the biggest issue you'll run into. The prince is hard to control due to the game having to work with the limited PSP controller layout. The game does its best to accommodate you though. There's a first-person view you can use to look around. There's also a camera angle that gives you a top-down / side view to aid in platforming. There is no manual controlling of the camera, so you do have to cycle through the previously mentioned camera angles to navigate your way around. Like I said, you do get used to it. What you won't get used to are the janky ways the prince falls to his death. While platforming, any slight wrong press of a button causes the prince to jump off ledges, causing you to question why it is that you play video games for fun. I can't count how many times I was just trying to tweak the prince's positioning in preparation for my next move, and he instead decides to jump 45 degrees the opposite way, over and over. And deaths aren't that forgiving. You'll find yourself having to complete entire sections after you die just to get back to where you were. Fights are the same. Leaping over opponents sometimes causes the prince to leap off a wall and over a cliff. But those deaths are pretty funny, I won't lie. For fighting, I found myself mashing attack whenever I see an opening, but there are combos you can learn to look cool if you want. Overall, the game suffers from the problems I had with the PS2 Prince of Persia's, where it's constant platforming room after platforming room with a few fights sprinkled in. There's no break or downtime. I mean, I know it's the series' roots and you have to know that going in, but I can't help but get exhausted from this style game. It's the same issue I have with Soulsborne games. Variety is presented to you in the form of power-ups that are unlocked in certain points of the story, like being able to slow down time around you to make puzzles easier, and the classic reversing of time to undo mistakes. It's really not a bad game if you could look past the unpolished audio bugs and the janky controls. So that'll do it for my review of Prince of Persia Revelations on the PSP. If you're a returning subscriber, I want to thank you for coming back. And if you're a new viewer, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed the video. Either way, stay awesome, and I'll see you on the next one.